Well, and thank you for staying right through the almost end of the conference. I wanted to talk about homeopathy because to me, as a biologist, although I'm actually not going to talk about biology in this lecture, and homeopathy is one of the big anomalies of the century, and it's an interesting phenomenon because, like the previous speaker, it doesn't really involve the chemistry, and it involves more some kind of an energy, assumedly, that's stored in the water. So that's what I'm going to talk about overall, conceptually. And I wanted to start, I don't have to look up there. You look up there. I'm looking here. Okay. About just like some of the basic principles of homeopathy for people who may not be familiar with the details. Obviously, it implies and involves some kind of a long-term, if not permanent, storage of information in water. Homeopathic remedies, once they're made, last years, if not months, and many of them are diluted to the point where beyond Avogadro's number, so that there are no physical chemical molecules present. That process is called potentization, I can't even pronounce it, which is a series of succussion and serial dilution. Succussion is just literally banging the sample on a book traditionally. Some even succuss on a Bible, because there's a book and there's a book. But the process is mechanical, and it does involve a person. Although some remedies are made with a machine, and rumor has it they do not work as well as remedies that have been succussed by hand. Homeopathy needs to be distinguished with another phenomenon called ultra-low dilution pharmacology, if you will, where traditional scientists have observed that biological systems respond to very, very low concentrations of chemicals, not beyond Avogadro's number, but on the order of maybe 10 to the minus 12, 10 to the minus 11 molar, which is in biological terms, way below any known mechanism to occur. So they're both anomalies, but homeopathy is of particular interest because there really are no chemicals present at all. And one of the bizarre anomalies about homeopathy is that the more diluted the solution, the more potent it is in terms of biological effect. And the other really bizarre phenomena is that the homeopathic lead, if you start with physical lead, homeopathic lead, for example, has the opposite effect of lead on the body. So it's some kind of an inverse space where, we bring it to the whole concept, Tiller's theory of inverse space as having opposite properties than our ordinary space-time reality. Most of the scientists who study this area believe that some kind of solvent change is involved because there are no physical solute molecules present. There must be some kind of a permanent change in the solute. I'll talk about that a bit later. And another interesting phenomena is that when you measure these solvent changes as a function of dilution, you get very non-linear effects. So if you measure the structuring of the water, sometimes you get oscillatory phenomena. This is as a function of dilution. Sometimes it goes up, sometimes it goes down. And the other last interesting important point is that when you take these structural changes and you measure them in a remedy, they vary from day to day, they vary from pharmacy to pharmacy. So, one wonders why homeopathy is even reproducible, and why you can even get any effects in the scientific literature, because if one remedy is different from the next remedy, how would you ever expect to get reproducible effects? Which is part of the problem in homeopathy, and one of the reasons it's not been accepted. Despite that limitation, there are still very numerous double-blind clinical trials. There are many articles that have been published in peer-reviewed journals, meta-analyses, and all that stuff. So there is a lot of hard scientific evidence. These experiments have been done in vitro, they've been done with animals, they've been done with humans. And I personally believe that the reason that they have not been as reproducible as we might like is partly because we really don't know how to make a homeopathic remedy, and partly because in most of these studies, they use a standard homeopathic remedy for a standard disease. They don't individualize the treatments for the specific subject. And real homeopathy designs a specific remedy or series of remedies in accordance with the symptoms of the patient. And most scientists who study the phenomena will just say, well, okay, we're going to treat cancer or whatever, and here's or we want to treat AIDS, so we want to take homeopathic remedies that are known to enhance the immune system. Okay, but you can't just arbitrarily take a single or even a blend of remedies like that and expect them to work across the full spectrum. So, having said all that, homeopathy is still an anomaly. So let's look a little bit at the solvent properties, and here's a demonstration of what typically happens in water when you have a solute, which would be the little X positively charged. Boy, I can't see that. I guess you can. I'm calling that thing there. Which would be a solute molecule, in this case with a positive charge. So the negative parts of the water molecule will be attracted to it, and then you end up with all these little water molecules clustering around the solute molecule. Well, that phenomena is called hydration, and that's well known and understood in the physical chemistry of water and solute-solvent interactions. Of course, the problem in homeopathy is that that little molecule in the middle is no longer there. So can the hydration structure remain after the molecule is removed? And the standard physics here is that there are electrostatic interactions that hold the individual water molecules together, and that is what maintains the stability of these structures. Now, the problem is that these structures form and reform over fractions of a second. So whatever information might be stored in the middle rather than a chemical structure, it dissipates, and then the information dissolves, and then it reforms again. So this particular theory about what's going on in homeopathy, I believe, is not really accurate to describe how long-term information can be stored in water. Now, water itself is particularly anomalous, and this has nothing to do with homeopathy, just initially just water itself. I mean, water has a very, very high dielectric constant, and from all other liquids. And of course, it's a good thing because water surrounds all biomolecules, and biomolecules and cells have a very strong, particularly cells, have a very strong electric field across the cell membrane. So we need a solvent around the molecule, the surface of the membrane that would be compatible with such a strong electric field. But the more common, familiar anomalous properties of water are the examples of the fact that when it is in a solid state, it has a high density, yet it floats. I mean, this is kind of a typical anomaly that we're all familiar with. But other anomalies occur within the actual structure of water, where it's known that, water is considered to be bulk liquid water, and there are known ice-like liquid crystal entities that occur within the bulk, and that's kind of bizarre because it doesn't occur in other liquids. Water tends to flow in spirals, and of course the main phenomenon that we're talking about here is water memory. And water memory, although it's an anomaly and not really accepted by mainstream science, water memory associated with hydration and solvation is reported in the scientific literature and known to exist as a phenomena. But when it comes to information and energy stored in water, then we really get into Never Never Land. So now here I want to distinguish between homeopathic remedies made with chemicals and those made with electricity or magnetism. And Hahnemann himself was the first person to realize that you could make a homeopathic remedy not starting from a chemical, but starting with an electric field, and they were called electrochetus. And magnetis, I can't even pronounce these words, magnetis is the type